So, I hope everyone has recovered from the weather. So my half marathon plans were slightly derailed because of the weather. So yesterday on Sunday I was meant to do the Exmouth half marathon, but it was cancelled due to the storm. So I was lucky enough to have another half marathon on my doorstep, the Wild Night Run Battle of Woodbury Common half marathon. So I went to Woodbury Common on Saturday night and did my 30th half and got this wooden medal, and it kind of shows the face, one face of the moon. Really tough off-road half, kind of looking about 1,600 feet of elevation, so really quite tough. Especially for me, as I prefer elevation that's as a good decent hill and a downhill section afterwards, but this was more kind of short little inclines that mentally you can't really see them being inclines, but when you're running them at your pace, definitely suddenly realise an incline, and they're not kind of my favourite. So yeah, very lucky to have it on my doorstep considering my half was cancelled. So, what can I say? It was a half marathon, it was on Woodbury Common, it was kick-off at 7:30, so luckily I was done by 10, and just as the storm was starting to kind of make its move, it was very windy on the exposed sections, but when we were kind of underneath any trees on the wood section, it was okay wind wise, and we had no rain, so, and it was actually really quite warm, which is kind of weird on a February evening at like kind of 8 o'clock, half 8 at night. Very weird being kind of quite so warm. So probably will not be doing it again unless I have to, like this weekend, because I wanted to do my 30th half for my challenge, so I kind of had no choice. But I've done 2 races organised by the Something Wild events, maybe. Did one last year in the summer, and then this one. The only way I'd recommend you to do it would be either do the 10k version, so you're not quite out for as long, it's just one loop, or do it with a friend. Because I found it really quite lonely being out on Woodbury Common late at night by myself. I was probably alone for a good 4 miles because of just the lack of marshals. They had the very bare minimum of marshals and felt very alone. Of course, I had a runner in the distance and runners behind me, but I still felt very alone. So definitely they need more marshals. I think during the day it'd be absolutely fine, but at night I think if you kind of see a marshal or 2 kind of every couple of miles, it kind of makes a difference. And the marking was okay, the route marking was okay. There was only a few sections where we kind of ummed and ahed a little bit, and I spoke to my other fellow running club friends, and they kind of felt the same, that at some points they were running going, am I on the right track? So yeah, not one I personally would recommend. It also is really quite expensive for a medal. I don't mind that it's wooden, but if you want to be eco-friendly, maybe go for a compostable string instead of a plastic ribbon if you're going to go eco with the wood. And for the price, you had just that, nothing else. At the finish, there was not even a chocolate bar. There was some old fruit, but after a half marathon at 10 o'clock at night, fruit is not something I really fancy. So yeah, so it was just under £30 because it was £28 plus processing fee. And there, I remember looking back maybe last autumn, and there were some early bird prices at 22 and 24, which not so bad for just one medal. but for nearly £30, I would say is pushing it. For trail runs, I always look to White Star Running because they are reign supreme with trail runners and trail races. They are just an amazing company, and their races are so well organised. And I had so much fun at their night race I did in November in Ringwood, because it was like a party atmosphere. There were so many marshals. It was brilliantly colouredly, very coloured route marking, all the marshals having fun, and of course their love stations were amazing. It was just totally different to what I experienced on Saturday. So if you think with White Star you are again paying something like £30 for a half, but you do get a fantastic medal, and you do get a packet of biscuits or a bottle of beer or a buff. For instance, I did Jolly Runnings half in December, just before Christmas, again around about a £30 mark, but you got a fantastic medal with Santa sliding down it. Let me go and get it. This is Jolly Running's medal, as you can see the difference. And you also got a Father Christmas themed buff and also a Christmas pudding. So that for me is what I expect from a £30 entrance fee. So I was slightly disappointed for £30. No biscuits at the end, no chocolate bar at the end, nothing. But they were selling their hoodies and buffs and t-shirt that you could buy. Definitely not going to buy one of those when I just spent £30 on a race entry. So I'm glad I've done my 30th half. Yeah, I got through it, got the job done, but I personally wouldn't recommend doing it unless you do the 10k, you're not out for as long, or you do it with someone and so you're kind of running together and it's a jolly evening out. But kind of a 7:30 start is very late, I think, for February. My dark half of White Star in November was a 5:30 start, which was perfect. But 7:30, you know, there was a lot of people still running past 10 o'clock at night, so it must have been really tough. But I've done it. Give it a try, but definitely go for the early bird entries if you can, to get your money's worth. If not, then maybe choose another race. Cheers, guys.